speaking of turning things down, so I was supposed to do the intro track this week, but I actually have a real excuse this time of why I didn't get to it.
I think I know what this excuse is.
Yeah, it's not my fault because we have a new family member. Oh my gosh. Internet, this is Penny the golden doodle. And she is the sweetest, most perfect puppy the world has ever seen. And if you tell me otherwise, you're blocked. No, I'm just kidding.
Your dog ate your homework.
So we picked her up on Monday. And boy, I've never had a kid before, but
no, stop.
I imagine this is exactly what it's like.
It's not. Everyone says that when they get when they're head over heels for a dog, and then you have a kid and you're like, oh, I was an idiot when I said that.
Well, I'm just talking about the sleepless nights and the haven't left the house, and
it's way worse. It's like, imagine a dog times 10. Like about the burden and stuff. I mean, it's great. I'm not trying to disparage being a parent, and then the level of love is like, it's an infinite times more amount of love for another thing.
Right.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
You hear her. So we've been training her and she is done. So she's probably just going to sleep through this whole episode in my lap.
But you should get like one of those cloth or the sash for holding a baby and just put her. I mean, we have one actually for that we never used. We should send it to you.
For Fraser or for Graham?
For Graham. But it would work for a puppy.
Yeah. So this is Penny. She's amazing. I'm just gonna let her sleep because Tilly's running out. So yeah, that's why I didn't get to the track, because look at her.
I think that's the most legitimate excuse we've had so far.
That's the only actual excuse we've ever had. And for people listening to the pod, you can't see Penny. So just imagine the most perfectest, beautifulest puppy you've ever seen in your life. And that is Pretty Penny.
That's it.
Yeah. So anyways.
Well, episode 24.
Hold on. I feel like I remember how to say that in Spanish. 24. Hey, anyone? Chat? Want to correct me if I'm wrong here? Dip my dog. That could be a good segment for us.
Yeah, we have to give our dogs flea baths.
Yeah, we're both dog people here. We are a pro dog podcast here on Dipped in Tone. So
yes,
dip your dog, your tone dog.
Tone dog.
Actually, we had a really great moment. The first day we had her, like the first full day we had her on Tuesday, we were running around and I was playing some John Scofield on my laptop. And as soon as he started playing, he hit this harmonic on the 12th fret. And this is from a jazz festival performance, like 2013. And he hit this harmonic on the 12th fret. And she was across the room and was like, what was that? And came running over to me on the laptop. I picked her up and she was like watching. She's watching the video. I was like, yes, that's John Scofield. Yes. Good.
Every time I play guitar, when I play at volume, and it's just me and Fraser, my golden doodle here, he'll like walk in the room and just like go, and I don't know if he hates it or he's like he likes it. I don't know. So that was, I guess that's been your week pretty much, right?
Yeah, literally. I put out a video yesterday. It's doing terribly. I don't care. My week has just been dog central. So
dog central. Well, I got something fun. I actually got this. I think it was on Friday or maybe Saturday of last week. So it just missed last week's podcast. But I got this.
Whoa.
So I can't see.
That's rad.
This is a 1964 Melody Maker, 3/4 scale. So this is like the most, like you can see how short the neck is.
Yep.
The most kid-friendly Gibson ever made. And I think it's a normal Melody Maker size body.
Okay.
But the neck meets at like the 12th fret.
Well, also it looks like the bridge is set super far back.
Yeah, everything's scooted way down.
So it's not normal scale length. It is actual 3/4 scale.
I don't know if it is or not. I feel like it's just like a normal. I haven't looked this up, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like they took a normal Melody Maker and then just shoved the body up like the neck.
Right.
And so I feel like on a normal melody maker, the bridge is actually up.
Yeah.
So
It's more like Les Paul Jr. size.
yeah. But it's it's a really thin body. It's thinner than a normal Junior.
It's almost like
But
SG thin.
oh, it's thinner than that. They're like really thin. It doesn't weigh anything, but this is, I mean, it's a 64. It had a headstock brake,
Of course.
which you can see,
Of course.
but it was only $500,
Dude, we've talked about this. Gibson needs to reissue the Melody Maker.
like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a ripping little guitar, man.
Man, and I bought this for my son, and this will be his first guitar, a vintage Brazilian rosewood fingerboard. But
Hey, man.
$500, like, what else can you get new for $500 that's got this much vibe?
You're setting Graham up for success, man. By the time he's 7, he's going to be on the gear page, just like fighting with people. Like, yeah, I mean, listen,
You don't even know.
You can use like Pal Ferro, but I mean, look, Brazilian rosewood. If you don't play Brazilian rosewood, you really don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, that's how I would have been if I had known.
Of course,
So.
yeah. He's gonna be a tone snob by the time he's 8 years old.
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly, yes, he will be.
That's awesome. Yeah, Melody Makers are sweet. Gibson, if you're watching, we know you're not, but if you're watching, bring back the Melody Maker. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and this, is going to be the basis for the first Shoyles, the one that I make anyway.
The Shoyles. Wait, is that what we're doing? We're each gonna make our own Shoyles guitar? Because mine's gonna be terrible, I think.
Well, I'll have the import division, and you'll have the American.
Right, the American custom division. Yeah. So mine will be like $8,000.
Yes.
Yep. Nice. Cool, man. I like that. 100%. I'm into it. Good job.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't welcome everyone. Welcome to Dipped in Tone, episode 24. Already forgot.
Yep.
If you guys want to join us in the live chat while we are recording, you can join our Patreon, which is linked down below. Still working on that next tier.
It's funny. Yet. So last week I said, they have this thing and they can have merch, and it's like, I think it's like you raise the tier, and then every 3 months you'll get like a new piece of merch.
Sure.
And then I had that window open, and then I closed that window, and now I can't find it again. So I have to. I'll just have to dig through my emails. It's there somewhere. I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's the quality and work ethic you can expect here from Dipped in Tone.
Man, I've been so busy. Like, I think.
Dude, I get it.
I think a lot of times, I've said this in my live streams before, that I just dig myself deeper in the hole I'm already in, and all of this is just me doing that. So
yeah. We both need help. We both need to hire people, like for sure.
Yes.
I was actually talking to some people about that this week. Like it's now time. I think it's time to like hire someone to come in and help out with all the stuff I've got going on. But anyways, that's not what this podcast is about. Today we are dipping rigs exclusively. You guys were requesting it in the comments. We read the comments, the good ones and the bad ones.
Yep.
And we saw your requests, and we have a backlog of rigs to dip. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dip people's rigs all day. So all day. Buckle in.
A 24-hour rig dipping session.
This is a rig dipping telethon. You can call us. It's that would actually be cool. We should set up like a call-in number. I think we can do that on like one of our live streaming platforms here.
Like a virtual phone?
Yeah, and have actual people call in.
We would need someone, we need someone to screen that call.
Yeah, for sure. That could be our guest episode. We could have just Josh screen calls for us.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It'd be amazing.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, we'll do a telethon. It'll be like Loveline. Dr. Drew and what was his name? The guy from he has the podcast, Adam Carolla.
Oh yeah.
You can be Adam Carolla. I'll be Dr. Drew.
Okay.
And we'll do a love line, tone line, dipped in tone love line. 1-800 let's dip.
Random pants on it in the chat.
Oh man. Okay, cool. So what's our first rig today there, Zachary?
Well, so I just went through and starred a bunch of emails and thought these will work.
Cool.
So
you might have to edit this down while we search our email inboxes for of things.
So I'm just going to go through the ones I found first. Upload them to the chat. So the first one is from, and by the way, you have to be a Patreon supporter. Because we get a lot of emails of these, and when I go to check, sometimes like a lot of them aren't Patreon. So that's just a reward for the people who support the channel. So this first one is from Simon Mestrom Mateo.
Cool.
I think.
Right.
Sorry if I'm butchering that name. So he has a Marshall 50-watt Plexi clone in a 2x10 combo.
Sick.
Tone King Galaxy. Looks like an older
Right.
Galaxy with a 1x12 Alnico Gold cab.
Great.
And then he has a 1980 Les Paul Heritage.
Great.
Which is pretty cool. A 99 USA Tele.
Great.
A 2015 Les Paul Jr. And from the look of his pedals, he's got a Polytune, a Full Drive 2, a Mudhoney, a micro amp.
Micro amp, yeah.
Yeah, and then a Volante. And then he said he recently got a Chupacabra. Not why I picked this, but
Sure.
But he did get one.
Sure, man. You're just a shill, dude. You're just a shill for your own stuff.
Absolutely.
This is a really cool rig. I'm fascinated by that 50-watt 210 combo. That is very cool.
Yeah. So I've played it's called a baby blues breaker, like a vintage Marshall. It's an 18 watt in a 210.
Yes.
And I like 210 combos. I think they have a different punch, a totally different vibe.
Yeah, the 10-inch speaker is a different thing. If you've never played, or like a 410, like a Super, for example, like it feels completely different than a 12. It's not as much low end, and much more mid range, which works, I think, because that's where the guitar should live, is in the mid range of the frequency spectrum. The 210 50-watt Plexi, I mean, those have got to be, I wonder what speakers are in that. Did he say?
No, I didn't say.
Okay, because those have got to be some pretty heavy handling speakers to handle 50 watts for 210s.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, Eminence makes a ton of, high wattage. But really, if you have two 25 watts, that technically can handle 50 watts of power.
Right.
25 watt speaker.
And that would actually be cool, because then you're really pushing those speakers. You're kind of you can really saturate them, which is cool. Get some cone cry and some speaker breakup going on, which is always a nice thing.
Yeah. So with cone cry, sometimes it's cool, and then sometimes it can be the most horrible sounding.
Yeah.
Like with certain Jensen speakers, like modern Jensens, until they break in, there's a really harsh, nasty cone cry. But until they're when you play them for a month,
Right,
then that tends to go away.
I never really understood what cone cry was and sounded like until I started making my own impulse responses, and it was crazy. So if you don't know, making an impulse response, essentially what you do is you hook up. It's kind of a complicated pain in the ass system, but you hook up like a very clean, like solid state power amp to a cabinet, and you mic it up. You do the whole thing, and you want to dial in the gain of the power amp to where you're pushing the speaker, but you're not overloading it. And what happens is you send a 15-second long, 18-second long filter sweep through the cabinet. So literally, it starts below human hearing and it just goes sorry, just woke Penny up. It goes all the way through the frequency spectrum, and you can listen. When I made my impulse responses, I was sitting here in the room with the cabinets. I had ear protection in, but at certain points through the frequency spectrum, you would hear the speaker break up. It would be like ooh, and then a spike would happen, and it would like start to rattle and cry, and then it would come back down, and then you could hear the harmonics. So it would happen the first time, and then it would happen the second time, and then half the time later, and it would just go like, you'd see the blips. You can see, oh, that speaker is breaking up at that frequency, and there's the fundamental, there's the first harmonic, there's the second harmonic, all the way up the frequency spectrum. And it was crazy.
Yeah, it's super, super interesting how all that stuff works. And until you hear it, then you don't. It's one of those things that when you hear it when you're playing an amp, you're like, what is that? But you don't necessarily know what it is. Just know it sounds kind of weird.
Right.
I mean, it can sound musical and cool. It depends. So cool story about that Heritage Les Paul, or at least my interactions with those guitars. So those were essentially like the first reissues.
Right.
For all intents and purposes. Like there were a few guitar shops in the early 80s that essentially commissioned Gibson to replicate the 59 Les Paul. But the Heritage series was like their first attempt to have like a widespread run of these guitars. And one of those found their way into Carter. And I remember John sent me a picture of it. He's like, "Hey, this thing's pretty cool." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And I thought those pickup covers look kind of funny. They don't look like normal Gibson pickup covers. Come to find out, that guitar was priced around $3,000 or so, $3,500.
Right.
It was someone had put, and it was the shops. Someone had put a pair of double white PAFs in it.
Like like real ones?
Real ones.
Wow.
And the guys took it back into repair to just check it out. And they pulled the pickup ring off and they saw it was a real PAF and they pulled the screws out and saw that it was a double white. And so they took the pickups out and then I think they sold the pickups for like $8,000 or $9,000 and just put some OX4s or something in it. But I remember seeing it and think those covers look good. And I should have just bought that guitar.
Yeah, you should have. You really should have. My God. Would have been, yeah.
We should comment more on this setup because we've got.
I know. We just got caught up in this is why we're going to do a whole episode of this stuff. So that Heritage Les Paul, that would have been Norlin era Gibson, right? 1980?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, late 90s Telly, straight ahead. We've talked about those. Those are great. The 2015 Les Paul Jr., these are cool. I have one gripe with these guitars. This was Henry J era, like getting towards the end of the Henry J era of Gibson. And for some reason, they decided to put like Les Paul's actual signature on the headstock where the Les Paul logo goes, which is a cool idea. But the way that it was done, it looks like it was just drawn with like a really thick, dry erase marker kind of thing. And it looks weird to me.
It's Les Paul's signature. It's Les's signature near the end of his life.
Right.
Not Les's signature when he was young, which basically looked like the Les Paul logo. There's a name for it. So some of the guys in the comments are saying it has robo tuners. I don't know if this one does. It probably came with it.
Yeah, it probably did. It doesn't look like they're on there now.
But my biggest problem, because that scribble Les Paul font or Les Paul name on the headstock, it's not the most attractive thing. But these have a wider nut because Henry J also had a problem with the neck itself is wider. Had a problem pulling the strings off the fingerboard, and they widened the whole neck just ever so slightly.
Wait, but Henry J himself had a problem with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so across the board on the standard stuff, they widened the neck and the nut. And for those who are used to playing a Gibson guitar and used to the nut width, which is usually 1 11/16, it feels so weird.
Yeah.
It does not feel like a Gibson guitar in your hand at first.
Right. So interesting story about this almost exact guitar. So in 2015, I was still it was towards the end of my church gig career, my mega church sort of career. And one of the gigs I had was like Wednesday night, was playing for this youth group thing that would happen every Wednesday night. It was a huge thing. It was like 500 kids and this whole crazy thing. And one thing that they actually did, which was cool in that band, was half of the band, like me, the drummer, the bass player, and the singer, were all like pro musicians. That's what we do. But they brought in some of like the actual kids from the youth group. So the other guitar player, the keys player, 2 or 3 of the other singers were actual like high school kids that were just learning this thing, which I thought was great. Like, just as an aside, being able, if I was in high school and I was able to play with people that were 15 years older than me and actual pros, like that would have been huge. But the other guitar player, super sweet kid, and he was awesome, really, really, really cool guy. He bought the special version of this guitar, so the double pickup version with the robo tuners, and he was so stoked on it, dude. He was like, brought it to the first gig, the Wednesday night, and he was showing it to me. I was like, oh man, that's cool. He was showing me the tuners and everything. And in the middle of that gig, something happened. He either like bumped the tuners or he didn't. He did a setting wrong. And in the middle of a song, the thing went from standard to like drop D or open D. It just retuned itself in the middle of the song. So he's playing rhythm, and all of a sudden his guitar just goes into a completely, and he couldn't figure it out. So he's trying to play these chords, and everything's wrong. We're all looking at him like, what's up, man? You okay? And he's could not figure it out. So he's like panicking, trying to retune the guitar and everything, and it's fighting him and all this stuff. And so he just the next day took it right back to Guitar Center and got something else. But
oh man,
that's my RoboTuner story.
Just building off of that real quick. When I was in high school, and this was a long time ago, and this is different, Zach. But I would lead an FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athlete, like thing. There was like Tuesday mornings, and they would have it at KFC, and so they'd have like a praise and worship section where we all played music.
That's the most Tennessee shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Yeah. Hey, come on down to KFC.
We're gonna worship Jesus
Tuesday
down
morning.
here at KFC before high school on Friday.
But and my wife knows this. I was in it because all the cute girls were there. You know.
Of course, sure.
So, but one thing I would do is because I had to sing and like lead these songs, and if the songs were out of my range, I would transpose them into a different key that would work for me singing the song. And no one else could follow it. So I would start singing the song, and they'd be like, "This doesn't sound the same." And
where do I put the capo?
The
capo where?
Because it was just me. And so I would capo it up and like sing it lower, or do stuff so I could actually sing the songs.
But the audience couldn't follow you.
They couldn't follow it at all, and it would always
Weird.
just be an absolute nightmare. And there were a few times where I'm like, you guys don't get this one, so I'll just move on to the next
all right,
one.
next song. That's awesome. So, all right, back to this rig. We got to wrap this one up, or else we're only going to do 2 rigs for this episode. So, Tone King Galaxy. I've never played the Galaxy. The thing I love about Tone King amps, though, is the aesthetic, like total nuclear era Fallout sort of like
Vintage TV.
Yeah, very cool vibes. And then the pedal board, pretty straight ahead, pretty meat and potatoes. I like it. Shout out to the micro amp. Now, I know you don't like the micro amp, but...
What? When did I say that?
Oh, I thought you and I had talked about this, that you don't like the micro amp.
No, I like it. I like it fine.
Okay, never mind. I'm confusing with somebody else. I apologize.
I don't think I said that.
I was profiling you, and that was wrong. Somebody left an amazing comment about profiling on on my Quad Cortex video. I'm getting distracted. Shout out to the micro amp, though. That is Tim Pierce's secret weapon. If you don't know, if you never watched Tim's channel, he pretty much always has a micro amp on in his signal chain. Not adding a ton of gain, but just a little bit. And that's kind of the secret to his tone there.
It's a good boost, and I'm interested in where it is in the chain because like it's hard to see.
Well, you can kind of trace. So it's going tuner to full drive. Then it looks like full drive to... what's that orange pedal again? I can't remember.
The Mud Honey.
Mud Honey. Nice. And then it looks like the Mud Honey to micro amp and then micro amp to Volante.
So that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the micro amp's a neat pedal. It's a op amp based booster instead of a transistor. So it's kind of unique. But I know a lot of people use it for like pushing Marshall-y style amps. So I think it would work really well in this setup. The whole setup's great. I mean, like the nut width on the Junior would throw me off, but everything else is like like home for me.
Yeah, this is a great rig, man. Really great rig. You guys have great taste. I love this. 9 out of 10 shoils.
9 out of 10. Yeah, I'll get an 8.5 shoils.
Okay. 8.5, 9. Great. Love it.
Right. So this next one, if you want me to curate these things.
Yeah, please do. Because my email's closed and I don't want.
Right. So there's 2 pictures here, and I'll upload them to the Discord.
This catch up in the chat here
is from Scott Howard, and his email is very long, so I'm not going to read all of it. But basically, he's got a modified Mexican Strat Blues Junior. That's the amp. Even though there's a Marshall in the picture, just disregard it. And he's got some cool import pedals, and it looks like some stuff that's maybe rehoused or built from a kit. So on the pedal board here, we've got a Donner Mini Wah, a Boss Tuner, a Donner compressor, a JHS Angry Timmons clone,
Nice.
or Andy Timmons,
AT,
Angry Charlie,
yeah.
Angry Charlie sort of thing.
Yeah.
A Boss Super Chorus, a Baby Boom Triverb, which is I think like I guess it's like probably like a TC Electronic sort
Mm-hmm.
of chorus thing.
Mm-hmm.
A flashback delay, a freeze, and I think that's kind of it. But he was saying, how he
And the trio there on the end.
and then the trio looper, and it looks
Yeah.
like a
And
ditto looper.
looper. Yeah. Double
But
looper.
he said my board is chock full of $40 pedals that truly deliver. You guys and your boards to each their own, but the gobs of money you two alone have in your boards are more valuable than some automobiles. I don't get it, but that's okay. So I thought this is a good thing to talk about.
This is balling on a budget right here. I like this. My favorite part about
Yeah.
this rig is the board itself. It looks like it's a homemade board, double tier, props, very cool. It looks like it's made of pegboard.
It looks like pegboard for a garage.
Yeah, that was painted black. Dude, I love that. I love DIY boards like this. It's so cool to see how people just put stuff together. Because the reality is, you don't need to go out and spend $150 on a pedal train board or a Vertex board or whatever. Like, you can use whatever you got to put your pedals on, your power supply on. So, yeah, shout out to that. The interesting thing let's start with the guitar. So let's start at the beginning of the chain here. I think we need to set up a sort of signal flow. So we'll start guitar, then pedal board, then amp. I think that's a good way to start doing these rig dips. So HSS Strat, that's a great do it all, one guitar to do everything. I've never owned an HSS Strat though. Have you?
No. I've put mini or single coil size humbuckers in.
Right, like hot rails and stuff.
Yeah, or like a JB Junior
Yep.
sort of thing. But the biggest gripe I have with this style of pickup configuration in a Strat is just because, or it is, the single coils and the humbucker want to see a different volume pot value. So usually what you end up with is single coils that sound normal, and then a humbucker that sounds kind of dark and muddy because it's seeing a 250K pot instead of a 500K pot. So
what's the workaround there? How would you fix that?
Well, there's a couple ways to do it. You either use a higher value pot and then use some resistors to make the single coils think they're seeing a 250K pot, or what Fender does now, which is super smart, and they partner with CTS to do this. They designed a stacked pot that it's dual ganged. So it's like two pots just stuck on top of each other, and one's a 250K and one's a 500K.
Nice.
So there's only one knob.
Right.
But that paired with a special kind of switch lets you, when you flick down to the humbucker, switch to a 500K pot.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it wouldn't matter, but
no, it does. It really
makes
does.
a huge difference in the clarity. And I feel like with everything going through a 250K pot, when you click down to that humbucker, there's a big leap in volume, and the level of control kind of goes away.
Right.
So
nice. Yeah. Like I said, straight ahead. I've never owned an HSS Strat, but I think they're a good option, because you can kind of do, it gives you a little bit of that best of both worlds thing, right? You've got the humbucker bridge thing. You've got the Strat neck thing. To me, most Strat bridge pickups are not the most usable sound. They're not my favorite sound. I prefer a Tele bridge or almost anything else over Strat bridge.
Have you ever done the Strat bridge plate mod?
Where you put a bottom plate under the pickup?
Yeah, like a Tele.
No, I've never done that.
It's pretty cool. Lindy Fralin sells little plates that they're coated in wax. So you lay them on the back of the pickup and then you heat them up with the iron and the wax melts and adheres to the wax of the pickup. And then you solder it to the ground. But that's kind of cool because it gives it a little bit more spank and snap. It doesn't increase the output.
Right.
But it's a neat trick. One thing too, and I should have said this, is you can always break up your volume pots. Instead of having two tones, have volume, tone instead of volume, tone.
And on a Strat too, I would the way a Strat is normally wired with the tone controls is usually there's no tone control for the bridge. In traditional Strat wiring, And I think that's a better way to do it. Two volumes and a master tone, or change the wiring so that your tone goes to the bridge and then maybe a master tone for neck and middle, or maybe you have master volume, master tone blender pot. Like there's all kinds of things you can do with Strat wiring.
It's the world's your oyster on a Strat, really. I will say my favorite wiring is the Eric Johnson, which neck has a tone, bridge has a tone, but middle's wide open, and I think that gives you a really spanky, snappy middle pickup sound, which is like probably the least used pickup position on a Strat for most people.
Or if you're Tomo Fujita, now you play Strats that have only the middle pickup in it, and that's
all you need.
Rad. That is sick. All right, so we talked a little bit about the pedal board. Yeah, like pretty straight ahead, balling on a budget here. The clone, the AT clone is interesting to me. I wonder, was that like a kit build? It must have been.
It had to be. I mean, who knows? He might have got it online. There's a lot of people that sell clones on Reverb in like bare enclosures, and it's a cool thing to do when you're trying to get your foot in the door in the pedal world. I'm not sure what that silver pedal next to it is.
Me neither.
Because he said, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, man, it's like, for me, I see this, and my first suggestion would be to upgrade the wiring.
Yeah.
Get consistent patch cables, and I don't know what kind of power supply situation. I don't recall if he said that, but that's what I would do, and clean everything up. And I mean, he's right. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a pedal board to have good sound.
No.
But ultimately what you get is you can just go deeper into your own sound when you have a little bit higher budget, I feel like. Not necessarily. Well, I mean, that's not entirely true.
I think
I don't know.
It's an interesting discussion, right? To me, there's no direct correlation between number of dollars spent and overall quality of tone. Right. Because the sound is really down to the player. If you're not a good player, you can spend $10,000 on a rig and it's not gonna sound great.
Yep.
If you're an amazing player, you can take a super budget rig and make it sound good. You can make it do what you want it to do. And I don't just mean, there's more to it than just being like a good player and knowing your theory and notes on the fretboard and all that kind of stuff. It's also understanding tone and understanding the fundamentals of how all the stuff works. I think that's a big part of it. So
I think the biggest thing you get out of higher quality pedals, when looking at some of these, the import stuff like the Donner and things, is the signal to noise ratio is a lot better. So you get a much cleaner sound. And that's something that you can't really argue with. And of course, your power supply and your cables, that have a big impact on that. But there, when you play like an import pedal or a clone of a popular pedal and sometimes compare it to a high quality version of it that has better power filtering and better components all around, you just get less hiss. And for me, man, I hate when I'm working on a circuit, and I the first thing I do whenever I build anything is I just turn it on with all the knobs down. Does it hiss? And then start turning the knobs up, not even playing the guitar. Like, what is the level of noise? Because if it's really bad, guess what? It's going in the garbage. That's what happened with the Lark.
Yeah, we fought with that on the Lark for months trying to figure out the noise situation. And so speaking to his comment about like, I don't understand you guys and your expensive pedal boards and stuff. So to me, I think there sometimes is a misconception online that people, they look at like a board that I might have or you might have or other people that spent money on it and, maybe had somebody build it and all that stuff. And they think, oh, well, that's just a flex, right? Like, oh, you're just trying to, and it's like, for me, it's not that. So to me, the biggest drawback of this rig, specifically the board, is that, in my opinion, is not roadworthy. That board would not stand up to, I think any kind of serious, like repetitive gigging. I think it's a really cool option for a home rig, super budget, something to play around with. But if you are going out and trying to gig, especially traveling, you're in and out of trailers, vans, you're flying, this setup right now is not super roadworthy. Right. To me, the reason I spend money on a pedal board with higher quality pedals, higher quality power supplies, higher quality boards and signal cable and wiring and everything, and now recently having somebody like Mason build my boards is because They're going to be dead nuts reliable in almost every situation. It's gonna last. It's gonna hold up to the abuse. It's gonna hold up to being, used and kicked in different environments, hot, cold, wet, dry. And the signal to noise ratio thing, the noise floor thing, is very, very important, especially when you're doing session work. Yep. A noisy board or a noisy rig is not a great thing to have in a gig situation or a session situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's astonishing how little changes can take. Even, a Strat, single coils, they're famously noisy, but having your setup right, that noise can drop tremendously. So
yeah.
Well, you want to touch on? Well, we didn't even talk about the loopers. So some people are asking about the Trio. The Trio is essentially a jam box that listens to you play and then makes a bass line and a drum beat. Mm-hmm. They're pretty wacky. I've not heard. I heard one when they originally came out, and it sounded very MIDI-esque.
Right.
But it's a cool thing, and honestly, for me, like, that's a practice tool that is really valuable because you can loop and jam and practice.
Right. I don't know anything about loopers. I'm not a huge looper guy, so that's out of my wheelhouse. But yeah, overall, man, solid balling on a budget rig. I love seeing stuff like this. I love seeing people like MacGyver their own situations together. It's awesome. I'm all about it. I'm going to give this. I think the things I would improve would be the wiring on the pedal board. Go to a consistent patch cable. Go to clean up your power situation. And yeah, I'm going to give this one 7.5 out of 10 shoils.
I'll give it 7 shoils. I think, 7 shoils.
Nice.
We still have to come up with that shoil logo. Whenever we say all these things, I just want animated things to happen on the screen where it's like, we give it X amount of shoils and we have like a preloaded animation of like coins dropping and then going like, you've been dipped.
Oh my God, I just clipped the shit out of my mic. I think we could do that. I think we have to have I don't know, we'll have to think about this, how to pull this off, but I think it's possible.
Well, we could do it, in the edit.
Yeah, but if we could do it in real time, it would mean it wouldn't have to be done in the edit. We'll talk about this later. This doesn't need to be on the podcast. So nice. What's next here?
Okay, I have another one from Byron Verdone.
Okay.
Verdon.
Verdon.
It's probably not that. That's a little too earnest. Let's see. So okay, processing. There it goes.
Nice.
Right.
Here we go.
So a lot of strats today. Let's see. He says loves the show. This is John Mayer, Gary Clark Jr., Hendrix Black Keys. And so his rig here is looks like a Mexican standard Strat.
Yep.
A Yamaha Transacoustic, which I'm not familiar with, but looks great. Katana 100. And he has Polytune Electroharmonics Tone Corset, which I'm not familiar with what that is. Yeah, the chat can fill us in. The Keeley Fuzzbender, Soul Food, a Plumes, a Full Drive 3, MXR Analog Chorus, Vertex Steel String, and the Nux Atlantic, which is like looks like a Strymon delay reverb thing.
I think that's New X.
Oh, is that how it is?
I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah. UX. That's it should be NEW space UX.
NEW. All right, cool. So start with guitars. Strat, love it. I love a white Strat. White Strat, white pickguard with the maple neck. Cool. It's very Hendrix Woodstock kind of vibes. I'm into that. And again, Mexican Fenders, man, hard to beat, straight ahead. They do the thing.
And it's the perfect platform for upgrading down the road. You can spend as much money as you want putting fancy pickups in it. Not that you need to, but you can always take this and kind of shift it more in the direction you want pretty easily.
Yep. The Transacoustic, I'm not familiar with that either, but I know that Yamaha acoustics are some of the best, like, bang for buck acoustics out there. I think I've had friends that have owned them, and they sound phenomenal. Yamaha is the best dirt bike, piano, watercraft guitar brand in the world, I think.
Yep.
For my money, at least.
my first acoustic guitar was a Yamaha, and it was great. I don't know where it ended up. Honestly, I have no idea. I think I might have given it to somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they're great. They're easy to play. Both guitars solid. The only thing that I would want is some humbuckers.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking that you gotta have, to me, yeah, a good well-rounded rig, depending on what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
I think a humbucker guitar would be cool. Not necessary, but
if you're into the Gary Clark Jr. and the Black Keys vibe, maybe something like an Epiphone Casino, because then you're like, that I think that a Strat and a Casino or Casino style guitar is going to cover such a wide variety of sounds.
yeah, for sure. And casinos are great, man.
Yeah.
The one downside to a casino or an ES330 is it's fully hollow. It looks like a 335, and if you're not clued in, you might just think, oh, it's 335, but with P90s. But it's not. It's fully hollow. The neck joint is different than a 335, where the neck joins the body. It's in a different place. Yeah. And different style bridge and everything. So they don't really sound like a 335 with P90s. They kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, they're really jangly. I mean, sounds like later Beatles records.
I'll tell you what I really want, man. They're expensive and they're really hard to find, but Dwight Yoakam did a signature casino years ago called the Dwight Trash model. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up a picture on the phone.
So sick. It looks like a casino crossed with like a white Falcon, and it has a Firebird headstock on it. So it's like a gussied up casino with a Firebird neck, and oh my God, it kicks so much ass, man. It's so cool.
Oh man. My only complaint with Epiphone guitars that have gold is the gold never looks right. Like the gold hardware. It doesn't look the same as like a real Gibson guitar, like the gold plating. I don't know. In photos.
It was cool when we with Noah, we spent basically 2018 and 2019. Most of our opening gigs were with Dwight Yoakam,
right?
Which was an interesting experience. But he was playing those. His rig, Dwight's rig, was basically the casino, the Dwight Trash Casino, into two early '90s AC30s, just dimed, and the stage volume on that gig was punishing. The shows sounded terrible because you couldn't mix anything because his stage volume was so crazy loud. And also he had the worst acoustic guitar rig I've ever heard in my life. Played these beautiful Martins, played beautiful Martin D28s, but the rig, and I have a picture of this. I don't know if I'm going to post it because I think they'd be mad if they knew I was taking pictures. They were a strange organization to tour with, but essentially his acoustic rig was a Fender PA system. So he had a wireless going into a wireless receiver, which went into a Fender PA from like late 80s. So giant solid state head, 16 channel PA. They were using one channel of it, and it had a 10 band graphic EQ on it. And the EQ was set like literally it was a V. Okay. It was just this. Okay. From the PA head, he went into a single PA speaker that had an 18-inch driver and a horn. And the rig was guitar into PA head into the single PA speaker, mic'd up with two 57s, a 57 directly on the dust cap of the 18-inch driver, and then a 57 directly into the middle of the horn. And it sounds exactly like what you think it would sound like, which was the most tinny, terrible, brittle sound ever. And we heard it the first night while his tech was sound checking it, and it was painful to listen to on stage. It was like awful.
What?
And dude, he's got to be deaf. Like, to me, I think that's probably the only way he can hear it, because they still run wedges on all their shows. Their stage volume is punishingly loud. And he's been doing this for 40 years now. I mean, the dude's got to be deaf. So the only way he can hear his acoustic is if it's just all top end,
Man.
drilling into his brain on
Man,
stage.
it would sound better just taking a piezo right into the board. Like with nothing else in between would sound better.
Yeah. The band was great, though. I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit about them or their organization. We had a good time playing with them, and his guitar player, Eugene, was so cool.
Yeah.
Eugene does a bunch of stuff online with Fender and everything, and he's such a nice guy and so badass. And their crew was nice to us and everything. It was really funny.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to the rig.
Sorry.
It's fine. We're free spirited today.
Yeah.
So I guess we can move on to the pedal board. So the pedal board, the tone corset, the chat informed me is a compressor. So, but
that makes sense. Tone corset.
Yeah, tone corset.
Okay,
yeah.
I get it. Yep.
A lot of gain on this.
A lot of gain.
On this pedal board.
Love the Fuzzbender.
I've never played one.
They're cool, man. They're really cool. Really good fuzz. If you're one of those, if you're in the market for a fuzz, you want one fuzz to do a little bit of everything, I think the Keeley Fuzzbender is a really good option.
Yeah, I have no experience with it, but it looks cool. I love the knobs on it. I like the aesthetic of it, and I like Robert. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's like, hey,
seal of approval.
That's
hey, man.
Robert Keeley's been nice to me.
Hey,
so,
it's bona fide.
Moving from that,
Soul Food.
The Soul Food, is a clone. And I, having played as many clones as anybody probably, I'm not a huge fan of the Soul Food. I think it's okay. Like, it's passable.
Yeah, but it's also $60.
Yeah, but in today's world, there are a lot of things that are in the same ballpark money wise that I think are equally as good.
Like what? What would you say would be
the MXR Sugar Drive, which is a Klon derivative, I think sounds better than the Soul Food. It may be $100.
Okay.
But RJ, shout out to RJ, he did a shootout with like a bunch of clones.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the Wildwood, and he had Archer, and he had that the Nuix or the Nux, whatever. Their little one, which is crazy. Like you can like hold the switch and it'll go from germanium to silicon clipping and stuff, and it sounds pretty good. And I think they're like crazy cheap.
Right.
So the Soul Food's a good platform for mods, but right out of the gate, just caveat: don't think that is the Klon sound, because it's not. There's some changes in there, so I'm not a huge. It's fine. It's my catchphrase. It's fine.
It's fine.
But if it were me, of all these things, that would be the first one I would upgrade to something else.
I think it's great for $60, man. It does it to me. It's close enough to the thing. It does the thing well, and again, it is a great platform for mods. And it's one of those things. If you want to mod it, it's $60. Have at it.
Yeah, well, if you can get to it, it's hard to mod. You can mod it, but it send it to somebody else to mod.
Josh Scott will personally mod it for you for free.
Does he still do that? I don't think
I don't think so. But if you ask him nice and you say, "Hey, Zach Broyles said that you would mod my Soul Food for me for free," then he'll do it.
He would call me and cuss me out.
What the hell, man? Plumes, great.
Plumes. I've never played one. I don't see how they can afford to make a Plumes for $100 or a tube screamer clone for $100 in the States, but
it is. Well, I mean, look. Speaking of Josh, they did the 3 Series thing for $100 in the States. It's possible.
But the Plumes, I think they went to surface mount now, but when they initially started, they were all through hole, and like their video like showed people like putting the parts in. I'm like, how are they paying for these? These people
might not have been. Might have been breaking even on it. You don't know.
Well, that's true. No, that's very true.
I mean, yeah, it's like, or they could have just had real slim margins on it, knowing that they were going to sell a ton of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. They sold that was the biggest selling pedal of whenever that pedal came out a few years ago. That was like the top seller, like across reverb, across everything.
Right. Full Drive 2.
Full Drive 3.
3. Oh, yep, you're right.
So the 3 has an independent boost. The original Full Drive 2 has the boost as like part of the circuit.
Right.
You're turning it on and off, kind of like the Tim in a way, different. Right. But this has its own boost. So yeah, they're cool. I mean, the Full Tone has their own long history of drama on the internet. So I
Yeah,
guess
we
into
won't get into that.
that.
Draw your own conclusions, people.
But with all this drive, because the full drive is a tube screamer derivative, and then
Right.
you have the plumes, which is a tube screamer derivative,
Right.
and the soul food, which is kind of mid forward. Do you think this is a little bit redundant?
I do. I was gonna say. So here's what I would do. I'd keep the fuzz binner. That's cool. I would keep the plumes. I think that's cool. I would swap out the full drive for a boost because I don't think you need another overdrive here, personally. I would go for a good boost pedal. Now you have the steel string up there, which is also that can be a good clean boost. It can be sort of overdrivey kind of thing. But I think you got the overdrive thing covered here pretty well. Personally, I'd like to see some more like time-based effects. He may be using the katana for that. We'll get to the katana.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're kind of in the Venn diagram of pedals. You got a lot of overlap here.
Yeah. If I was gonna have, whenever I approach overdrives in stacking them, I try to have my bass sound, and then I try to have something that stacks well with that bass sound, but maybe kind of different.
Right.
Something that doesn't. They complement each other, but if you turn them on independently, they do not sound the same at all.
Yeah.
So
I like the 3-pedal method for me, which is basically 2 overdrives and a boost. And I think you can do everything you need to do with almost any amp, depending on what amp you have and what overdrives you use. But essentially, to me, the 3-pedal method is light gain, transparent overdrive, medium gain, coloring overdrive, and a good boost. And depending on where you put those, how you order those in the signal chain, they can do different things. So you can go boost to low gain overdrive to mid gain overdrive to get 3 different levels of gain staging, essentially. So you have light gain, medium gain, super saturated gain. Or you can put boost after the overdrives and have light gain, medium to saturated gain with solo boost going in front of your amp. You got a lot of options. But here, yeah, I think a redundancy is. So maybe sell some of that stuff and try something new. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I don't think you necessarily need the compressor when you're running the katana.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. But and then the chorus, it's interesting that the chorus is placed at the end of it. Looks like it might not be. It might be looped him somewhere else, but it looks like
he could
it's
be
at the
going
end.
from the full drive to the nooks. But then it would be weird to have the seal string after the chorus, though.
Well, you could use the steel string as kind of like
Amp in a box,
amp,
like
yeah.
a preamp thing. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But the katana, dude, the katana 100. I had one of those. They're great. They're good. Like
I've never played one.
They have the software suite where it has almost every boss pedal, not every boss pedal, but a ton of boss pedals in there that you can access.
That's cool.
Through the amp, and the different modes on it sound great. I think it's got an acoustic or like a really clean mode where you can plug that acoustic right into the amp if you had a gig and you
Right.
could just play it. Of all the entry into the digital realm, the katana is the most accessible, and I think one of the better options. If you don't know which way to go, just get a katana. I think it beats the Mustang. I think it beats any low end line 6 stuff. Any of that, it's great.
The last gig I played was a year ago, February 2020, and the guy in the band that was opening for us had a 212 katana on stage. I don't know what model that would be, but it sounded fantastic, dude. Standing out front, listening to them, they sounded great. So yeah, katana. Man, I'm gonna give this one 8.3 out of 10 shoils. Yeah, I think we need to sort of quell the herd a little bit, thin the herd a little bit in terms of the overdrives. Maybe toss some of that stuff up on reverb and try something new.
Yeah, I think 8. Yeah, 8 shoils. Is fair. 8.3.
Nice.
At the 0.3, look, what are you talking about? Like
That's what my gut says, Zach. So it's 8.3 shoils.
your gut is dumb.
No, your gut is dumb.
So okay, how many was that? Was that
That was
4?
3.
That was
We've
3.
only done 3. It's been like an hour already.
So all the people in the comment section that think we should have a full episode of this is how long it takes because this is how our minds
This
work.
is what you wanted.
Yeah, so we've already been recording for almost an hour. So I think maybe
Maybe one more.
oh god, should we?
Yeah, let's do one more. We'll do a lightning round here.
Okay, wait. I have so many tabs open. All right, we're gonna do one more.
I'm gonna do a dog update here in the chat.
Dog update.
Pup date.
Because he has emailed quite a few times. I'm only going to share one picture.
Oh, don't encourage people to like spam our email, please.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't. We get the emails.
Like, we see them. We're just like, just hang in there. Dan, here you go.
Yes.
Okay, so,
I'm excited about this one.
So Mr. Dan Runyon?
I got to get a pup date going here.
Yeah, I only emailed once. No, I know.
I know that.
But you sent many messages, and I mean, and I appreciate that envelope of money that you sent to my house.
Shh. Listen, we can't talk about that.
So Dan has some pretty sick stuff here.
Yeah, this is great.
So, I mean,
Man.
Obviously the reason why we picked it is there's a Novo sitting in the back.
Yeah, you're really tugging at the Shoyles heartstrings here. You know what we like. You really do.
So his email is very detailed, so I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm just going to kind of focus on what we can see here in the photo. But he has...
Start with the guitar.
In this guitar, he's got a Ceres J with one of those really swirly tort guards, and looks like, is it charcoal frost?
Yeah, charcoal frost, the super like 3D kind of looking tort guard that Dennis is doing now. It's juicy, man. That is a beautiful, with the matching headstock, block inlays, bound, which is what my J has, bound and blocks, matching headstock. Yeah, very, very similar actually to my J in spec, just different color, different pickguard.
He says Novo calls it Spitfire Tort.
Spitfire Tort.
Yeah, I actually asked for that for my Solus, but they didn't have a piece big enough to do the Solus guard. And I was like,
It's funny, dude, but if you ever go to the Novo factory and take a factory tour, there's like a section, a corner of their shop where there's just like a box and there's just sheets and sheets of pickguard material. And they've got some really cool shit in there that they haven't used yet. They'll pull it out and be like, whoa, that's cool.
I think Dennis is like me. Anytime he sees something neat, like, because whenever I find like knobs or something on a, somewhere online, I'm like, I should buy a couple of those just to have them, But yeah, okay, so he's got a bunch of other guitars that are killer as well, but this Novo definitely takes the
that's
cake.
it for me. All right, pedal board.
Pedal board, he's got the 29 pedals Una, which I think is like
I've never heard of that.
Buffery, tone shapery thing.
Cool.
Not familiar. I know I've talked to the guy that makes it, but I honestly don't really know what it does. I know Joey Landreth has one and he likes it. So
it's Joey approved.
Hey. An older steel string, which I have one of those. It's great.
I do too.
He has is that the Hoof Reaper?
The Hoof Reaper V2, man.
Hoof.
One of my favorites. My favorite thing about the Hoof Reaper is you can run the octave solo. And we may or may not have been talking about that for a potential fuzz pedal we're going to do in the future. But yeah, it does the fuzz face thing. It does the tone bender thing. Really great fuzz pedal, man. I love the Hoof Reaper. 10 out of 10 Shoyles alone just for the Hoof Reaper.
Maxon AD999 beside
you know what we like, Dan.
One of my favorites. I'm not sure what that pedal is to the left of the.
Oh, that is that looks like the Rodenberg, the TB drive. Dan, is that correct? That's Tyler Bryant's overdrive pedal.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong, but it looks like a Rodenberg pedal.
I can see the amp jewels on it.
Yeah.
And those are shiny, so we might be seeing some reflection from something that makes it look colored. Yes, he says you're right.
Damn right I am. God, I got an eye like an eagle.
Oh, shit.
That's right.
Got the Volante.
Love it.
And then a Big Sky.
Love it.
And then sitting at the end there, the classic Boss TR2 tremolo.
Love it.
I adore that.
I do too, man. That's one of the best tremolos ever. That Boss tremolo, it just does the thing, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, man. It's great.
All right, we got some pedals on the floor here.
Oh, I don't know if we should get into all these.
Well, we got was that the I do want to point out the ZVEX Fuzz, the blue one there. The
Mass Distortion.
yeah, the Mass Distortion. That thing's badass. Tyler, Dan, you must be a fan of Tyler Bryant because Tyler's known for playing one of those, and they sound huge, massive fuzz sounds. Love that. Is that a GE7, a Mata GE7?
Exact Tone Works or XTS. What is it?
Yeah, XTS, Exact Tone Solutions, I think.
Yeah, that's right. There's a Duelist. There's a Holy Grail. There's an Argo. There's a High Road. There's a Black Box. There's an Archer.
There's a
Unicorn.
What is that?
Is that a Centura?
Might be. Nice.
An old CE2. There's a bunch of fun stuff on the floor.
Good stuff, man. Now the amp, dude. I have this exact amp. That is the Custom 20 with the 212 high watt Custom 20 with the 212, the Vane speakers in it. Probably one of my top 3 favorite amps I've ever owned in my life.
Nice.
It's kind of like an 18 watt Marshall. It is truly one of the best amps out there on the market today, in my opinion.
And he's running it with the aux, so it's more manageable, which I can appreciate.
And it's the thing is though, it's pretty manageable on its own. I mean, it's definitely loud, especially with that 212, but it's not obscene, right? It's 18 watts, Class A B, I believe, and it's got a master volume on it. Now, it's not a super clean master volume. It's really kind of a second gain stage more than a master volume. But yeah, I mean, you can run it at reasonable volumes. But yeah, having the aux in there definitely helps, I think.
Yeah, and having the aux also gives you the ability to play with headphones at night or something, which is nice, or at least whenever I fire mine up and I can, if I want to play late at night. It's a great option to have.
I've actually been playing my Captor X a lot recently, just because I leave the aux out in the live room for the live shows and stuff, and I leave the Captor X in here for when I'm making videos. And I gotta say, dude, the Captor X really is, I think, just about every bit as good as the aux in terms of functionality, in terms of sound and tone. The Captor X just kills it. So if you're in the market for an aux, but you're not wanting to spend the coin for a UA product, which is pretty expensive, the Captor X you should check out. It kills.
Can it attenuate as well?
Yes, it does the similar kind of thing. The difference in the attenuation, though, is you only have 3 levels of attenuation versus the aux is like 5 or 6, I think.
5.
But like the aux, the Captor X is always attenuating, even at its highest setting, which I'm not a huge fan of. I wish there was a way on both of those units that you could just turn the attenuation off, but you can't. So
Right.
that's the biggest gripe for me with the Captor X is the attenuator, and the attenuation points are all wrong. So the lowest setting is too quiet. Like even for bedroom playing, it's just too quiet. The middle setting is also too quiet, and then the highest setting is too loud. So there's no good spot in terms of the attenuation, but other than that, it kills.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I think
we got that 2-rock cab there too, but
yeah, he says he's not using that, but he's looking for another Fender style amp. So just get a 2-rock.
Get yourself a 2-rock or get an Amp Nation. Actually, I want to shout out Taylor, builds the Amp Nation stuff.
Everyone always asks me which I prefer. I've only played one Amplified Nation amp, and that was at Carter. It was like the Wonderland, the John Mayery one.
Yeah, which is I've got that one sitting right over there.
It was great, but I've had way more experience with 2-rock, and I know Eli pretty well. So.
Yeah. So fair warning. Taylor has given me 2 amps and a cab. So take my words with a grain of salt here, but they sound really good. His build quality is really good, and they're not as expensive as 2-rock. So if you're in that 2-rock thing, I mean, 2-rock for like the real deal 2-rocks. I look at like the Studio series as kind of being like maybe 2-rock light. So yeah. So to me, if I was going to buy a 2-rock, I'd want like the Bloomfield or something. But Amp Nation comes in and he sells direct. He doesn't have any dealers, so I think he can afford to save a little coin that way too. But dude, his build quality is great. His amps are great. Check him out.
Well, cool. Well, do you want to? Should that be your shill of the week? Or
Yeah. We'll start with that. But you go get your. Well, I'm not going to pick the amp up because I got a dog in my lap. But yeah. What's your shill of the week?
so Dan had one of these, a different version. But I've been talking to my buddy Joshua over at Snouse,
Snouse.
and I'm gonna shout out his Black Box Overdrive too. So
That's the
he
one
said,
that I had for like 9 months over here.
Yeah, you borrowed it. A lot of people ask me, what my preferred blues breaker circuit is. I'm not a huge fan of that circuit, as most people know. But if I was going to play one and I wasn't going to use one of mine, because I have made a few, it would be this. And the reason is because it has a boost that's really loud. Because the blues breaker circuit is notoriously quiet. I don't know if you've plugged in that King of Tone clone I sent you.
Not yet. I'm going to right after we get off.
Not very loud.
Yeah.
But this thing is like crazy loud. It has all these switches on the side so you can change the tone and do all sorts of stuff. But he's a really sweet guy, and he makes great stuff. So
Yep.
hit him up.
Nice. I like the fact that we, for the most part, we're using this shill of the week. Here's the ethos behind shill of the week. It's a joke, right? Because
Shill. Yeah.
anytime, the online gear community can be very fickle. And, some people look at people like me or Zach or anybody online that's talking about gear in a positive light as a way that we're just trying to pull a ruse, or we're trying to pull a fast one on people, or trying to trick people into like buying something. I'm not really sure where the mistrust kind of comes from, what the motivation behind that is. But anyways, to us, or at least to me, this whole point of this segment is to do one of two things. A, either educate you on what we think would be like a really useful, like genuinely good thing to buy. So that's why I talk about microphones and sort of more utility kind of things like the Zoom H6 and things like that. Or B, try and highlight people that we think are doing really cool things that we want to help garner some attention to. Like, this part of building this platform on, Dipped in Tone is about being able to share and highlight what other people are doing that we think are really good and deserve the shout out.
Man, I think it was Dan from that pedal show said, "A rising tide lifts all ships." And I'm sure he wasn't the originator of that phrase, but that's the first place I heard it.
Right.
And when I heard him say that, I was like, that's such a great mentality to have. And I mean, that's how I've approached all of this. We all have to, work together. And if Joshua gets some sales, that's awesome. And the whole community goes up that way. And I think that's how we should all act.
Yeah. And the thing about it is too, like Zach or myself, we're not going to recommend something that we don't genuinely like. And I do that on my channel too. Like, I'm not going to talk about something that I think is not a good use of money, because, dude, for most of my career as a guitar player, like, I've known what it's like to want to buy a new pedal and only have like a certain amount of money to spend, and like, it's really like think about, is this going to be the right purchase? Am I going to like this? I don't want to have to sell this. Like, it's a big decision. Like, buying gear is a really, really big decision. And so, I only really highlight stuff that I think is great and is made by people that I think are good people, good companies. With that in mind, my shill of the week is the Wonderland Overdrive from Amp Nation, Taylor at Amp Nation. Amp Nation is basically one dude, guy named Taylor up in Boston. And he's building these amps, and some of them are like direct Dumble clones. Some of them, like the Wonderland Overdrive, is like a sort of a modified mixed sort of Dumble. It's like the clean channel is basically John Mayer Continuum Gravity tones. It's got an overdrive circuit like the ODS kind of thing. And they're really great amps. The thing I like about the Wonderland is you can run it with either 6 V6s or 6 L6s. So right now mine's got 6 V6s in it, so it's 22 watts. And it's actually a pretty manageable volume. It's got a good master volume on it. It's got a good effects loop on it. Or if you put 6 L6s in it, you take it up to 50 watts, which I actually haven't tried yet. I think I'm going to throw some 6 L6s in it. You're going to have to rebias it when you do that. But they're great amps, man. They're built well. They sound great. Taylor's a cool guy.
I've watched your videos with them, and I've watched RJ's videos, and they sound awesome. And like, I don't want people to think that I don't like them. If they ask what I prefer, that or Two Rock, I just like, I'm close friends with Eli and that whole crew, and I have a relationship with them, and I know those amps.
Yeah.
So like that's, like going back to what Rhett said, like it would be wrong of me to advocate those amps when I have no experience with it.
Right.
And that's not saying something's bad. I really don't know. So.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them are bad. I've never heard one. I thought, yeah, but yeah,
they're cool.
Both cool.
Both cool. Well, there you go, everyone. That was the listener requested episode, Dipping Rigs.
We're never gonna do this again.
Don't you ever ask us to do this again.
Maybe this could be like a once a year.
Yeah, or maybe like once every couple months, because what happens is we do end up getting through a backlog of these rigs, and we have to get through them.
Or we forget or we don't plan what we're going to talk about. And we're like, hey, I have an idea.
Hey, you just want to do this tomorrow? Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, so that's going to do it, everyone. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast. Be sure to share the show with people. We're marching up on 5,000 subs on YouTube, which is awesome.
We're getting there. Yeah. So the views have been fluctuating.
Yep.
But I think if we put that dog in the thumbnail, this video is going to get a lot of clicks.
This is clickbait right here.
That's it.
Clickbait. Penny says bye to everyone. She says bye to the chat. She's about to go in a crate because she's exhausted. All right. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.